please do not attempt to do any of the steps you're about to see in this video. Airbags are very dangerous and contain explosives and should only be installed by trained professionals. Everything you're about to see should be for educational purposes only. Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be replacing the airbag on my 2011 Audi S5. The reason I'm replacing this airbag is because I accidentally goofed up and basically ruined the finish on the airbag cover. Now let me explain what happened. So these airbag covers can get a little sticky over time because of the sun hitting the airbag cover. And there's like plasticizers inside of the airbag cover that kind of seep out over time, so it gets extremely sticky. And when you try to use cleaners that are too harsh, it actually can damage not only this kind of rubberized finish, but it can actually take off this kind of clear coat. So the product I use to try to remove some of the stickiness is Goo Gone or Goof Off, or sometimes they call it contractor solvent. And there's different varieties of that chemical, and some of them may be a little bit too harsh. It works fine on this outer rubberized coating, but when you get into this interior rubberized plastic here and this chrome, I would not go near that at all with that type of cleaner, because that over time can start literally taking off the matte clear coat that's on the chrome. And if you rub hard enough, it'll actually go through the chrome and then start revealing this gray plastic, which is what happened here. I'll give you a close-up view of this because it looks kind of bad enough for me to have to replace this cover. Now the reason I'm replacing the entire airbag is because this cover on the airbag is one unit. You can't just purchase the cover. There are some videos on YouTube that show you that you can detach the cover from the airbag, but you should only do that at your own risk. You really have to be careful to remove the airbag, and then you have to like drill out a bunch of rivets. So I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to be replacing this airbag with a OEM airbag, and we're just going to be doing a straight out swap. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to do that. First thing you'll want to do is leave your battery connected. We will be disconnecting part of the battery in just a moment, but before we do that, there's going to be two tabs on each side. It's just going to be, looks kind of like a little arc, and it's just a little screw cover that we're going to pry out on each side of the steering wheel. Alright, so first I'm going to turn on the car so that I can turn my wheel to the right. I'm going to be accessing the screw cap here. So you're going to put your pry tool right at the tip of the arc, and then once you have it pried out, and then push it in towards the dashboard. So this is what the screw cover looks like, and this is where you basically are getting your pry tool underneath and then pushing it outwards. Alright, next we're going to use a Torx T-30 bit. And we're going to put it on a screw. Now it's going to be at an angle, and be careful not to hit anything. Now this screw does not come out, so you can unscrew it as much as you can, and you'll probably start feeling it just kind of getting really loose. But the screw is going to stay in there. This should be plenty already. Alright, now we're ready to turn the steering wheel 180 degrees to the left, and to do that I'm going to turn on the car. And now we're ready to take off the other screw cap. Alright, we're going to stick our pry tool here, right here at the top of the arc. Then once we have it started, we can take our other thumb here, hold it, and pry it out towards the dashboard. Now we're going to use our Torx T-30 again. Put it on the screw. And we're going to get our ratchet here. We're just going to keep turning it for a little bit just to make sure it's unscrewed. And it should already be unscrewed. Alright. So now I have both screws loosened. I'm going to turn on the car again and now straighten the steering wheel. And now we should be ready to disconnect the negative battery terminal. So in the trunk, the battery's located underneath the tire. So I'm going to take up my mats and we're going to raise the floor, unscrew the spare tire, take out the spare tire, and then there's just a cover covering the battery. So for this particular Audi, which is a 2011 Audi S5, this battery has the positive terminal on this side and this is the negative terminal. For this particular type of airbag, which is a dual stage for this particular model year, we're just needing to disconnect the negative terminal. So what we're going to do now is we're going to disconnect the negative terminal and we're just going to remove this little plastic cover here. We can kind of grab this little hook here, flip it back, and now we have access to the screw, which is a 30mm socket right here. And then we should be able to loosen this and just kind of pull it back. And I'm going to get something to where I can just kind of put it out of the way, and so that it doesn't come back and touch anything or arc, we're going to be placing something like rubber or something in between it so that we can make sure nothing's going to be sparking back here. Alright, the screw is loose, and here I've got my rubber, which we're going to be putting in between. Hopefully I've got an extra. I'll just place it here, and that way we're not going to have any sparks. So while the battery's disconnected, be sure not to close your trunk, otherwise you may not be able to get back into it. And also leave your door open. And what we're going to do now is we're going to wait 15 minutes to let the battery kind of discharge just a little bit, just to be safe. So while we wait on the battery to discharge, I thought we would take a moment and talk about airbags and why they are considered to be dangerous. They do contain explosives, so when you get in an accident, that explosive will ignite, and that's what basically inflates your airbag for you. This here is a new airbag, and you should always point the metal side away from you just in case this explodes. You do not want the metal piece ejecting towards you, which would cause injury or possible death. So always have that part facing away and have the rubber piece pointing towards you while you're dealing basically with these airbags. So let me explain a little bit how this is constructed. So you have the front part of the airbag, which is the airbag cover, which is kind of a rubbery material. And then the back side is kind of a metal shroud. Now, some people do take these apart, but it is meant to be one piece. When they do separate the metal shroud from the front cover, it basically reveals the airbag. There's like another little cover which contains the airbag on the back side, which is attached to this rubber front cover. And some internet videos show people drilling out the rivets that hold the front cover to the actual airbag, and they separate it. The reason they do that is because they want to just maybe replace just the front rubber piece, or maybe they want to replace just this little silver piece and the logo, which would have saved me tons of money, but I went with the OEM replacement instead. So this new airbag has a protective cover at the moment, this cardboard, and I'm going to need to remove that here in just a moment. But here on the side are the two screw holes that the screws on the steering wheel screw into, and those stay in the steering wheel. But you can see they're kind of angled here. And so let's go ahead and remove this cardboard. So these two clips indicate that this is a dual stage airbag. Then you have the main clip here, and then a secondary clip that's going to be clipped into the steering wheel. What you want to be mindful of is always to have this metal piece face away from you, just in case of static discharge from your body to the airbag. You may accidentally cause it to go off. So same thing when installing it in the steering wheel. That's why we're making sure to let the battery discharge a little bit so that we can avoid any static discharge there as well. But as we put it into the steering wheel, always face the metal piece away from yourself. So let's talk about dealerships and how you get your airbag. I tried to order one online, but once you put it in your cart, they will not ship it to you because it is an explosive. It is dangerous to ship. Your dealership will not sell it online. You will have to pick it up directly from the dealership. And this here is actually a box that was either driven to, or I think that's what they do. They have to drive it to the destination of the dealership. So this actually came into the dealership, and it contains some German writing still. But it has this symbol on it, which I think means that it's an explosive, or it has some sort of dangerous materials inside. So if you ever need to get an airbag replaced, you will have to maybe shop around. This particular airbag was only available in the state of, I think, New York or New Jersey. And it was, I think, driven down to a dealership here locally in Dallas, where I had to then drive to pick it up. But now that I have it, I'm going to be installing it next. All right, so I think we've waited long enough. 15 minutes is up, and let's head back to the garage and install this new airbag. So the airbag is already loosened. We've already detached the screws. So now this should just be loosely attached to the steering wheel, but it's still attached to the harness. So we're just gonna pop it out. And be careful not to go too far because you still have wire harness to remove next. You may be wondering why I'm wearing rubber gloves. It's because I'm trying to not have a static discharge, so that just in case. Now we're going to be detaching this yellow clip. There's a little green clip on top which I need to pull towards myself to be able to detach this. Okay, you can see that operation there. So there's a secondary clip here at the bottom. It's still kind of recessed into the steering wheel, so we're gonna kind of pull on this clip so we can loosen it up just a little bit. So I need to get my little pry tool, and I'm trying to get this a little bit underneath this right here, and then pull out. Okay, there we go. So this little nipple is what's basically keeping it inside of the female part of the harness. The one on the right is the new airbag, and the one on the left is the old one. But you may be able to tell that the right one, this chrome, is basically has a more matte finish to it because of there's like a clear coat over it. Well, all of that was rubbed off on this left one by accident. Plus this rubber in the middle is some sort of rubberized material which was kind of destroyed by the chemical that I used to try to clean it. So we're going to be putting this new airbag in right now, and so let's get on with that. So now I'm going to attach the new airbag. I've got my clip here. So the first thing I'll reattach is the black clip. Okay, that is attached. Now I'm going to rotate this around to make this yellow dot reappear. And I'm going to stick the harness back in its little spot here on the steering wheel. Alright, now we should be able to reattach this clip to the clock spring here at the top. And the clip design is actually slightly different than the other one. Alright, now I'm going to gently place it into the cavity, and now we're ready to start reattaching the battery, and then we're going to tighten the screws again. Now we're ready to attach the negative terminal back to the battery. So I'm going to lift up on the post, remove my rubber little piece of material, and now we're going to be placing this back on. Alright, just kind of wiggle it just a little bit so that we can get it all the way down. Alright, and now we're going to tighten it using our 30mm socket. Alright, I don't want it too tight, so, and then we'll put our protective cover back on. So now I'm going to be putting everything back on top of the battery. Let's start with the cover. Then we'll put in our spare tire. Put in our little cover, this nut. Alright, that's secured. Now we'll lower this, and we'll put in our carpet. We just placed this into the cavity. It's still loose, and so we need to now tighten the two bolts again. And in order to gain access to those bolts, we're going to turn on the car, and we'll start with turning the steering wheel to the right, and then we'll do it to the left. We're now ready to tighten the screw on one side of the steering wheel. Remember, since we reconnected the battery, the horn now is going to be active, so don't go pressing your horn too hard. So I'm going to just kind of gently hold it here in place while I start hand tightening the screw. So I'm going to actually be pushing in the screw just a little bit because you may need to try to push it down to try to start it engaging into the hole, and just gently press on the airbag while you're doing this. You don't need to press it so hard that the horn goes off. Just kind of press just a little bit. Alright, so now it's getting tight. I can no longer tighten it with my hand. I'm gonna now take my ratchet and tighten it up just a little bit. Okay. Now I need to put on the cap. There we go. Now I'm ready to turn on the engine again and turn the steering wheel to the opposite side. I'm going to put in my Torx T-30 here and start tightening the other screw. I'm going to hold my hand on the airbag, and I'm going to push down on the screw while I'm tightening it. Again, turning it clockwise, and until it becomes hand tight. All right. Now I'm going to get my ratchet. And now I need to put on the cap. I'll start by putting on the bottom first. There we go. And now we're just going to turn the car on once again and just straighten the steering wheel. As always, I hope you think this video was informative. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content such as this. Until next time, see ya.